Ethan Cole walked home on a quiet night, thinking only about a warm meal and some rest. His small town was usually silent after sunset, with only a few cars passing by and the soft sound of the wind moving through the trees. Nothing strange ever happened here, nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. That was why Ethan liked it. His life was simple, safe, and ordinary. But this night was different. As Ethan walked past the empty park, the sky above him suddenly flashed bright, white, so bright that he froze in place. Birds burst out of the trees, screaming in panic. The air crackled like electricity. A strange rumble rolled across the sky, deep and angry. Ethan lifted his head just in time to see something tearing through the clouds. It looked like a burning star, but it was moving too fast, too controlled. A long streak of blue fire trailed behind it. The object spun, shook, and then dropped lower and lower until it vanished behind the dark forest on the edge of town. A few seconds later, the ground shook. A heavy boom echoed across the quiet streets. Ethan's heart hammered. What was that? He whispered to himself. People in nearby houses stepped outside, confused and scared. Some pointed toward the forest. Others quickly went back inside and locked their doors. Cars turned around and drove away. No one dared to get close. Ethan felt something strange inside him, curiosity mixed with fear. Every part of him said he should go home and forget what he saw. But his feet refused to move away from the forest. It felt like the crash was calling to him, pulling him. He took a deep breath and started walking toward the trees. The closer he got, the more unnatural the air felt. It was colder than it should be. A faint hum drifted through the branches, like a machine trying to breathe. Small sparks floated above the ground, blue sparks, like tiny lightning bugs made of electricity. Ethan stopped at the edge of the crash site and stared. A small metal pod lay broken among the trees. It was shaped like a smooth silver egg, but cracked open in the middle. Smoke poured out of it. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its surface, symbols Ethan had never seen before. "This is not from Earth," he said in a shaky whisper. He stepped closer, careful not to make noise. Inside the open pod, he saw something moving. At first, he thought it was an animal. But then he heard a soft cry, a small voice, a scared voice. Ethan's breath caught in his chest. He leaned forward and saw her clearly. A young girl, no older than 10, sat curled inside the pod. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing. Her hair was white like snow, but soft and thin. And her eyes were silver, shining even in the dark. She looked up at him with fear and confusion. "Please, help," she whispered. Ethan froze. His mind tried to make sense of what he was seeing, but every thought crashed into another. An alien, a real alien. A scared alien child. Before he could speak, a sharp sound echoed through the forest like metal footsteps hitting the ground. Ethan turned quickly. Dark shapes moved between the trees. Tall, thin figures with glowing red eyes. The girl inside the pod began to cry harder. They took my mother," she said with a trembling voice. "They are coming." Ethan looked back at the shadows. They were closer now. He could hear them scanning, searching. His heart raced. He did not understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. Whoever these creatures were, they were not here to help the girl. He swallowed hard. "Come on," he whispered. "You're coming with me." He reached out his hand. The girl hesitated, then grabbed it with surprising strength. Together, they ran into the dark forest, away from the broken pod, away from the red-eyed hunters, and straight into the unknown. Ethan did not stop running until the strange red lights behind them faded. The forest was dark and quiet again, but Ethan did not trust the silence. Anything could be hiding between the trees. Anything could be watching. When they reached the edge of town, Ethan slowed down. The girl still held his hand tightly, her small fingers ice cold but strong. She looked around with wide, fearful eyes as if every shadow was a danger. "You're safe for now," Ethan whispered. But he wasn't sure if that was true. He led her behind houses, moving through backyards and empty alleys so no one would see them. If people saw her, if the hunters saw them, it would all be over. The girl didn't speak. She just watched. Him with her shining silver eyes, trusting him even though she barely knew him. Finally, they reached Ethan's house. A small place with a broken fence and an old garage that hardly anyone ever visited. Ethan opened the garage door slowly, listening for danger. Then he led the girl inside and locked the door behind them. The garage smelled like dust, oil, and old tools. The girl looked around with curious eyes. She had never seen anything like this. Ethan turned on a small lamp. Light filled the room, and the girl stepped back slightly, unsure. "It's okay," Ethan said softly. "You can rest here. No one will find you." The girl sat down on a blanket. Ethan laid on the floor. Her hair glowed faintly, even in the dim light. Her eyes were half closed, but she forced herself to stay awake, as if sleep was dangerous. "What's your name?" Ethan finally asked. She hesitated, then spoke in a soft, broken voice. "Lyra." Her accent was strange, light, musical, not human. Ethan nodded. "I'm Ethan." He pointed to himself so she could understand. "Ethan, Lyra." They repeated the name softly, making sure they understood each other. After a moment, Lyra spoke. "Again, my mother, she is gone." Ethan's chest tightened. He sat beside her, trying to understand everything. "What happened to her?" Lyra closed her eyes, remembering. "We were traveling. Our ship was hiding. Hunters found us. They want my mother. They want her power." Ethan frowned. "What kind of hunters?" Lyra shook her head, scared. "Not human, not alive, machines, stalkers. They follow orders. They do not stop." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. "Those things in the forest, they were not men at all." Lyra continued. "My mother sent me away in the pod. She told me to run. She told me to find her again. She said the tracker would lead me." "Tracker?" Ethan asked. Lyra nodded. "It fell in the forest. I needed to find her. Without it, I cannot find her ship." Ethan exhaled slowly. "The tracker must still be near the crash site. If the stalkers found it first, Lyra's mother would be lost forever." He studied the girl. Her skin pulsed with a soft blue glow, like she was holding energy inside. She looked weak, tired, and hurt. Yet there was a strength in her eyes that made Ethan believe she was far more important than she appeared. Suddenly, Lyra gasped and clutched her head. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked quickly. I feel them," she whispered. Her silver eyes widened with fear. "They're searching. They know I survived." Ethan jumped to his feet and peeked out a small window. At first, there was nothing. Just the quiet street and the empty sidewalk. Then a dark vehicle rolled slowly past his house, its windows black, its engine silent. A strange antenna shimmered on top, sweeping the neighborhood like a scanner. Lyra pulled her knees to her chest. "They will come, for me, for her, for you." Ethan's stomach twisted. His life had turned upside down in 1 hour. But when he looked at Lyra, tired, scared, alone, he knew he could not walk away. "We'll find your mother," Ethan said firmly. "I promise." Lyra looked up at him, her silver eyes trembling. "You help me?" she whispered. "Yes," he said. "Whatever it takes." Outside, the vehicle stopped. A red light blinked. The hunters were here. The blinking red light outside. Ethan's house cut through the night like an open warning. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, her silver eyes fixed on the small garage window. She did not move. She hardly even breathed. The dark vehicle sat still for a moment, too still, as if it was listening. The doors opened. 3 tall figures stepped out, black armor, long limbs, and movements that were smooth and unnatural. Their faces were hidden behind flat masks with thin red strips that glowed like angry eyes. They scanned the street without turning their heads, as if their vision reached everywhere at once. Lyra whispered a single word, full of fear. "Stalkers." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. One stalker placed a glowing device on the ground. Blue waves rippled outward from it, passing through walls, houses, everything. When the wave reached the garage, Ethan felt a cold sensation wash over him. "They are searching for me," Lyra murmured. "For my energy." Ethan looked around. The garage, desperate. There was nowhere to hide. Just broken tools, dusty boxes, and shadows that were too thin to hide anything. If the stalkers entered, they would see Lyra instantly. "They can't find you," he whispered. "We have to stay quiet." Lyra nodded, though her hands trembled. Outside, one of the stalkers walked closer to Ethan's house. Its feet made no sound on the ground. It paused near the garage door, tilting its head slightly, as if it smelled something. Ethan wrapped his arm around Lyra protectively and held his breath. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the stalker turned away and walked toward the street, joining the others. Ethan exhaled slowly, but the relief lasted only a moment. The stalker leader raised its hand, and a hologram burst to life above it, a silver pod. The same pod Lyra had crashed in, and beside it, a blurry image of Lyra herself. "This area must be scanned," one of the stalkers said in a metallic voice. Its voice did not sound human at all, cold, emotionless, empty. Another responded. "Alien. Child presence detected within 2 kilometers. Continue search." Lyra closed her eyes and whispered, "They will not stop. They only follow orders." Ethan watched them move. The way their heads snapped from one direction to another. The way their bodies shifted without sound. They were more like machines than living beings. A cold thought struck him. If these things search every house, they will find us. He stood up and walked to the far corner of the garage, checking a loose wooden panel in the wall. He had always meant to fix it, but now he was thankful he never did. Behind it was a narrow gap that led to the backyard, a small escape route. "Lyra," he whispered, "come here." She crawled toward him, her eyes still wide with fear. "We can't stay," Ethan said. "If they search the house, they'll find you in seconds." Lyra looked at the wall opening and hesitated. "It is small. You're small," Ethan replied gently. "You can fit, and I'll be right behind you." Outside, one stalker placed its hand on Ethan's front door. A bright light flashed from its palm. It was scanning the house. Ethan's heart raced. "Go," he whispered urgently. Lyra squeezed through the opening with surprising speed. Ethan followed, pushing himself through the narrow space until he fell onto the cold grass outside. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her behind a row of bushes. A second later, the garage door began to shake. The stalkers were checking it. Ethan and Lyra crawled through the shadows of his backyard, keeping low and silent. The night felt heavier now, like the darkness itself was watching them. When they reached the fence, Ethan boosted Lyra up and helped her over. Then he climbed after her, landing quietly beside her on the other side. In the distance, another vehicle joined the first one. More stalkers stepped out. "They are surrounding the town," Lyra whispered. "They know I am here." Ethan looked at the forest, then back at the streets filled with shadows and machines. "We need the tracker," he said. "We have to go back to your crash site." Lyra nodded slowly. Fear shone in her eyes, but so did hope. Together, they slipped into the dark woods, while behind them, the hunters spread through the town like a silent storm. The deeper Ethan and Lyra moved into the forest, the darker and heavier the world around them became. The trees stood close together like tall silent guards, their branches blocking the moonlight. Every sound seemed louder than it should be. The crack of a twig under their feet, the rustle of leaves when the wind touched them, even their own breathing. Ethan tried to stay calm, but his heart was still racing. Behind them, far back in town, red lights flickered through the trees like small angry stars. The stalkers were spreading out, scanning every house, every street, every shadow. "We have to move faster," Ethan whispered. Lyra nodded weakly. Her steps were small and shaky. Her glowing blue skin flickered like a dying light. She was tired, too tired for a child who had run so far. Ethan slowed down. "Are you okay?" Lyra tried to speak, but her voice broke. "My energy is low. I used it to hide from the stalkers." Ethan didn't understand everything about her, but he understood enough. She needed to rest. But they did not have time. "Just hold on a little longer," he said gently. "We're close." They weren't close. The crash site was still far, but Ethan hoped the lie would help her keep moving. They pushed deeper into the forest until the ground turned uneven and rocky. The smell of smoke drifted through the trees, the crash site. Ethan recognized the direction. They were getting near. Suddenly, Lyra stopped. She pressed her hand against a tree, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "What is it?" Ethan whispered. "Feel something," Lyra murmured. "Something is awake." Ethan scanned the darkness. Something like what? But Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she pointed toward a large fallen tree ahead of them. Ethan listened carefully. At first he heard nothing. Then a soft mechanical click echoed in the darkness. Ethan's stomach dropped. "That's not good." He crouched low and motioned for Lyra to follow. They crawled behind bushes until they reached a ridge overlooking the crash site. The pod lay broken exactly where they left it, but the forest around it was no longer quiet. Something metallic moved near it. Something crouched. Something scanning. A stalker drone. It looked like a metal spider the size of a dog, its long legs digging into the soil. A glowing red eye swept across the dirt like a flashlight. Every time the eye blinked, the drone buzzed. Softly, almost like it was sniffing the ground, Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm, her voice trembling. "It is searching for the tracker." Ethan's chest tightened. If the drone found it, Lyra's mother would be lost forever. And the stalkers would know exactly where to find Lyra. "We have to get it first," Ethan whispered. Lyra's eyes widened. "But the drone." "I'll distract it," Ethan said. "You grab the tracker." Lyra shook her head. "No, if it sees you, it will call more stalkers, many more." Ethan knew she was right. But there was no other choice. He looked around for something useful and spotted a handful of rocks near his feet. He picked up one, took a deep breath, and threw it far across the forest. Crack. The rock hit a tree. The drone instantly turned, its red eye glowing brighter. It scuttled toward the sound with frightening speed. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Now!" They rushed downhill toward the pod. Ethan's heart pounded so loud he could barely hear anything else. Lyra moved straight to a patch of dirt beside the pod and dropped to her knees. She brushed away leaves with desperate hands. "Hurry!" Ethan whispered, eyes darting around the trees. The drone made a sharp metallic sound. It had stopped moving. Ethan felt cold fear climb up his spine. "It knows," he whispered. "It's coming back." At that moment, Lyra gasped. "I found it." She lifted a small silver device from the dirt. It glowed faint blue, just like her. Ethan grabbed her hand. "Run!" Lyra didn't hesitate. Together, they sprinted away from the pod just as the drone came crashing through the bushes behind them, its red eye burning bright with anger. The forest exploded with noise as it chased them, metal legs tearing through roots and leaves. Ethan pushed Lyra ahead of him, forcing his legs to move faster. "Don't stop." The drone screeched, gaining speed. Then Lyra turned her head slightly, and her eyes glowed bright silver. For a moment, the trees around them shook with a strange, soft light. Leaves flashed white. The drone stumbled only for a second, but that was enough. Ethan grabbed Lyra and pulled her behind a large boulder. The drone slammed into a tree, sparks flying, but it wasn't destroyed. Not even close. Its red eye turned toward them again. They know where we are now, Lyra whispered. All of them. Ethan swallowed hard. The forest was no longer safe. The town was no longer safe. They had the tracker, but the hunters were coming. Ethan and Lyra finally stopped running when the forest grew quiet again. Their legs shook, their breaths came in gasps, and the cold night air stung their skin. But neither of them dared to rest long. The stalkers would spread out. The drone had already sent a signal. It was only a matter of time before more arrived. We need a safe place, Ethan said between breaths. Lyra hugged the tracker close to her chest. The device glowed faint blue, matching the quiet light from her skin. She blinked slowly, fighting exhaustion. I know a place, Ethan whispered. The old shed behind the observatory. No one goes there. Lyra nodded, trusting him without question. They moved carefully through a narrow trail, stepping over roots and dead branches. The moon tried to break through the clouds but couldn't. The whole world felt dim and heavy, as if the night itself didn't want to see what was coming. After several tense minutes, they reached a clearing. In the distance stood the old hilltop observatory, a lonely, silent building with a glass dome that hadn't worked in years. Behind it was a forgotten shed with broken boards and a crooked roof perfect for hiding. Ethan opened the shed door. Quietly, inside, dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts. Old boxes were stacked in the corners. The place smelled of wood, rain, and time. Lyra followed him inside. She looked small, almost fragile now, but her eyes still held that strange strength. Sit. Here, Ethan said softly. You need to rest. Lyra sank onto a small blanket he found. Her hands gently touched the tracking device as if it were alive. What does it do? Ethan asked, sitting across from her. Lyra held the tracker up. The glow brightened. It finds my mother, she said. It has her energy inside. When I turn it on, she will hear me. Ethan frowned. Won't the stalkers hear it too? Lyra nodded sadly. Yes, that is why we use it only once. Ethan swallowed hard. The danger was growing. But Lyra deserved to know her mother was alive. She pressed her fingers to the tracker. The device hummed softly. Blue light spread across Lyra's hands. The air around them shimmered. Then a faint voice rose from the device. Lyra. It was soft, broken, and full of pain. Lyra gasped. Tears filled her silver eyes. Mother. The voice returned, weak, but loving. My child, you are safe. Thank the stars. Lyra pressed her forehead to the device. I am not safe. The hunters are here. They are looking for you. They almost caught me. Ethan listened quietly, his heart sinking. He could feel the warmth and sadness in the mother's voice, even though she sounded far away, trapped somewhere he couldn't imagine. Lyra, her mother said, I am on their ship, hurt but alive. They want what is inside me. They want my power. Lyra trembled. I will find you, I promise. The blue light flickered. No, her mother whispered. You must not come unless you have help. The stalkers grow stronger. Many are searching now. Your signal. They will follow. Ethan stepped closer. We'll protect her, he said. Tell us what to do. There was silence for a moment. Then the mother spoke again. You must reach a safe point. The old observatory tower. It can send a stronger signal. If you reach the top, I can guide my ship closer. But you must hurry. Once the hunters locate you, they will not stop. Lyra wiped her tears. I will come to you, mother. I will not let them take you. The voice softened, filled with love and fear. My brave child. Stay close to the human. He has courage. He will help you. Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and dread. Suddenly, the device crackled harshly. A heavy metallic sound echoed through the signal footsteps. Closer and closer. Lyra's mother gasped. They found my cell, Lyra. Run. They are coming for both of you. Go now. The device went dark. Silence fell over the shed. Lyra stared at the tracker, her hands shaking. Mother. Ethan moved to the window and froze. Red lights glowed between the trees. Shadows slid silently across the ground. They're here, Ethan whispered. We have to move now. He grabbed Lyra's hand. The hunt had reached them. Again, and this time, the stalkers knew exactly where they were. The red lights in the forest moved slowly at first, like watchful eyes drifting through the darkness. But soon they grew brighter, sharper, hungrier. Ethan could feel the danger pressing against the shed walls like a rising tide. They found us, he whispered. Lyra stood behind him, clutching the tracker tightly. Her blue glow flickered like a candle struggling against the wind. What do we do? She asked, her voice small but steady. Ethan forced his breathing to slow. Panic would only make things worse. He turned toward the old observatory tower on the hill. It stood tall, silent, with broken windows that reflected pale moonlight. We go up there, he said. Your mother said the signal will reach her. Lyra nodded, though fear trembled in her eyes. Outside, the first stalker stepped into the clearing. Its black armor reflected the moon. It scanned the shed with a glowing red beam. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They slipped out the back door of the shed just as the stalker's metallic hand touched the front wall. That small delay, only seconds, saved them. The hill was steep. The earth was wet. Their feet slipped as they climbed, and the cold wind made it hard to breathe. Behind them, the shed door crashed open. A metallic voice echoed through the trees. Target detected. More stalkers responded. Ethan didn't look back. Faster. Lyra, hold on. Lyra tightened her grip. She was small, but she moved with surprising strength. Her blue glow lit the ground in front of them. When they reached the observatory entrance, Ethan pushed the heavy metal door open. The inside was dark and cold. Old star charts and broken machines lay scattered everywhere. Dust floated like fog up the stairs. Ethan said. The metal stairs spiraled around the inside wall, shaking under their weight. Lyra climbed as fast as she could, her breath short and quick. Halfway up, Ethan heard the first stalker enter the building. Its footsteps were quiet too. Quiet, like a predator sliding across the floor. Keep going, Ethan whispered. Do not look down. Lyra didn't look. She climbed until they reached the top of the tower. The dome above them was cracked, and the night sky watched them through the broken glass. The wind howled. Cold and sharp. Ethan turned to Lyra. Use the tracker, now. Lyra nodded and held the device in both hands. The blue glow grew brighter, spreading across the floor. The whole observatory filled with soft light. A beam of energy shot upward, piercing the sky like a signal flare. Far away somewhere beyond the clouds, a deep rumble answered. She heard me, Lyra whispered. Hope warmed her voice. Ethan smiled with relief. But the moment didn't last. The tower door exploded open. 3 stalkers marched inside, their red eyes blazing. One pointed directly at Lyra. Alien child located. Lyra cried out and stepped back. Ethan grabbed an iron rod from the floor, the closest thing to a weapon he could find. Stay behind me, he said. The first stalker stepped forward. Ethan swung the rod with all his strength. It struck the stalker's shoulder, sending sparks flying. But the machine didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. The stalker grabbed Ethan and threw him across the floor. Pain shot through his chest. Lyra screamed his name. The machine advanced. On her. No, Ethan groaned, trying to stand. Stay away from her. But the stalker reached for Lyra anyway. Suddenly, Lyra's eyes flashed silver brighter than ever before. Her fear turned into something fierce. The air around her rippled with energy. "Stop!" she cried. A wave of light burst from her body, knocking the stalker backward so hard it smashed into the wall. The other two hesitated, scanning her with surprise. Even machines didn't understand what they were seeing. Lyra's small hands shook with power she could barely control. Her voice trembled. "I won't let you take him." The tower shook. Dust rained down. A massive shadow passed overhead. Ethan gasped. A ship huge and bright descended through the clouds. Lyra's mother had arrived. One of the stalkers turned, its head upward. Alert! Ship approaching. The machines rushed forward again, desperate to grab Lyra before the ship landed. Ethan forced himself up, grabbed the iron rod again, and blocked the path. "You're not taking her," he growled. The stalkers charged, but before they reached him, a blinding beam from the ship shot down, covering the entire tower in pure white light. The stalkers shrieked. As their armor melted, Lyra reached for Ethan. "It's my mother. She is here," and for the first time since the crash, they were not alone. The white beam from the ship washed over the observatory and shook the entire hill. Dust drifted from the broken glass above. Ethan shielded his eyes as the light grew, brighter and brighter, until the stalker's screams faded into a sharp metallic hiss. Then silence. The beam vanished. The wind blew gently again, carrying the smell of burned metal and cold night air. Lyra stood trembling beside Ethan, her hands still glowing from the blast she had released earlier. The last of the melted stalkers lay smoking on the floor, their red eyes fading into darkness. Ethan touched Lyra's shoulder. "It's over," he whispered. Lyra looked up at him with tired silver eyes. "No, not yet." A soft hum filled the air. The ship, huge, silver, alive with blue lights, descended slowly toward the observatory hill. Its surface shimmered like water under the moon. When it came to rest on the ground, a small ramp unfolded with graceful motion. Ethan stared. He had never seen anything so strange, so beautiful, so frightening. Lyra took a small step toward the ramp, but her body wobbled. Ethan quickly held her steady, and then he saw someone standing at the top of the ramp. A tall woman, her skin the same glowing blue as Lyra's, her silver hair long and soft. She moved like she was floating, even though her feet touched the ground. Her eyes, silver like Lyra's, were filled with love and exhaustion. "Mother," Lyra whispered. The woman rushed down the ramp and knelt, pulling Lyra into her arms. She held her tightly, as if afraid the world might take her away again. "My child, you are safe," her mother breathed shakily. "Thank the stars. I feared I would never see you again." Lyra cried softly into her mother's shoulder. Ethan stood back, not wanting to disturb the moment. But Lyra's mother looked at him and gave him a gentle, grateful smile. "You protected her," she said. Her voice was soft, musical, but carried a strength that made Ethan stand straighter. "You saved her life." Ethan shook his head. "Lyra saved mine too." For a moment, the three of them shared a quiet understanding, the kind that comes from surviving something no one else could imagine. Then Lyra's mother lowered her gaze. "We cannot stay," she said softly. "More hunters will come. This planet is now in danger because of us." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" "The stalkers will return," she explained. "They know Lyra is alive. They know you helped her. They will not forget. Earth is no longer safe for you." Ethan looked down at his hands. Just hours ago, he was a normal guy walking home from work. Now he was facing a future full of unknown stars and alien enemies. Lyra tugged gently on his sleeve. "Ethan, come with us." Her voice was small but full of hope. Ethan blinked. "What?" "You helped me," she said. "You helped my mother. You can't stay." The hunters will search for you. They don't forgive. Her mother nodded. She is right. You saved my child. I will not leave you behind to suffer for it. Ethan stepped back, overwhelmed. Leave Earth? Leave his home? Leave everything he knew? He looked toward the town. The houses looked tiny in the distance, quiet and normal, unaware of the danger creeping closer. His life there, his job, his small routines, his quiet nights already felt far away, like a memory from another lifetime. He looked at Lyra again. Her small blue hands shook as she reached for him. Please, don't leave me. Those words broke something in him. He had seen her cry. He had watched her fight. He had held her hand while machines hunted her. He couldn't walk away now. Ethan took a long, deep breath. Okay, he said quietly. I'll go with you. Lyra smiled through her tears and hugged him tightly. Her mother placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, warm with gratitude. Thank you, she said. From this day on, you are not alone. The ship's ramp glowed softly. Wind swirled around them as the engines prepared for flight. Ethan looked at the earth one last time, the forests, the sky, the quiet town where his old life waited. Then he followed Lyra and her mother up the ramp. The door closed behind them. With a gentle hiss, the ship lifted off, rising through the clouds, carrying them toward the stars, toward a future Ethan never could have imagined. His old life was gone forever, but a new one, stranger, bigger, brighter, had just begun.